You think you know yourself. You think the thoughts that run through your mind each day are yours, that the decisions you make are conscious, deliberate, free. You believe that when you choose to wake up early or hit the snooze button, when you decide to pursue a dream or abandon it halfway, when you feel that strange pull toward comfort or that inexplicable resistance toward growth, that it's all just you being you. But what if I told you that beneath the surface of your conscious awareness, there's an entire empire operating in the shadows? What if I told you that your brain has been keeping secrets from you? Dark secrets, secrets so profound that once you understand them, you'll never see yourself the same way again. Napoleon Hill spent decades studying the minds of the most successful people who ever lived. He sat across from titans of industry, from Andrew Carnegie to Thomas Edison, from Henry Ford to Theodore Roosevelt. He didn't just ask them about their strategies or their habits. He went deeper. He wanted to know what happened in the hidden chambers of their minds, in those moments when no one was watching, when they were alone with their thoughts and their fears. And what he discovered was something that most people spend their entire lives running from. He discovered that the human mind is not just a tool for thinking. It's a battlefield. And on that battlefield, there are forces at work that you've never been introduced to, forces that shape every single outcome in your life, forces that determine whether you rise or fall, succeed or fail, live fully or merely exist. The truth is, your brain doesn't want you to succeed, not in the way you think. Your brain is an ancient machine built over millions of years of evolution, designed for one primary purpose: survival. Not success, not happiness, not fulfillment. Survival. And survival, in the old world, meant avoiding danger, conserving energy, staying with the tribe, not standing out, not taking risks. Your ancestors who took too many risks, they didn't survive long enough to pass on their genes. The ones who played it safe, who stayed in the cave, who avoided the unknown, they lived, they reproduced. And now, here you are, carrying their legacy in the very structure of your brain. You are walking around with a survival machine in your skull, and it's running programs that were written for a world that no longer exists. But here's where it gets darker. Your brain doesn't just operate on old programming. It actively lies to you. Every single day, it constructs a version of reality that isn't quite true, a filtered, edited, biased version designed to keep you comfortable, to keep you safe, to keep you small. And it does this so seamlessly, so convincingly, that you don't even notice. You think you're seeing the world as it is. You're not. You're seeing the world as your brain needs it to be in order to protect you from pain, from failure, from rejection, from the terrifying possibility that you might have to change. Napoleon Hill called this the invisible counselors. He described how the mind, when left unguarded, becomes a gathering place for every fear, every doubt, every limiting belief that has ever been planted in you. These invisible counselors whisper in your ear when you're about to take a leap. They remind you of past failures when you're on the verge of trying again. They paint pictures of worst-case scenarios when you're about to step into the unknown. And the most insidious part? You think these voices are you. You think they're your intuition, your wisdom, your common sense. But they're not. They're the echoes of a brain designed to keep you alive in a dangerous world. Now overreacting to a world where the biggest dangers are not saber-toothed tigers, but missed opportunities and unlived potential. Let me take you deeper. Let me show you how this works. How your brain has been working against you without you ever knowing it. Let me show you the mechanisms, the patterns, the dark architecture that's been shaping your life from behind the curtain. And let me show you, just as Napoleon Hill showed thousands before you, how to take back control. Because once you see these secrets, once you understand how your mind really operates, you gain a power that most people never access. You gain the power to reprogram yourself. You gain the power to stop being a passenger in your own life and become the architect of your destiny. It starts with something Hill called autosuggestion. But don't let the old-fashioned term fool you. This isn't some mystical concept. This is neuroscience. This is how your brain actually works. Every thought you think, every image you visualize, every word you say to yourself is not neutral. It's a command. It's an instruction being sent to your subconscious mind, which doesn't judge, doesn't question, doesn't filter for truth. It simply accepts and executes. If you tell yourself, I'm not good at this, your subconscious doesn't argue. It says, understood. Let's make sure that's true. And then it goes to work. It filters your perception so you notice every mistake and overlook every success. It dampens your motivation so you don't try as hard. It creates tension in your body so you feel uncomfortable and want to quit. And then, when you inevitably struggle, you look at the results and say, see, I was right. I'm not good at this. This is the dark secret your brain doesn't want you to know. You are not discovering the truth about yourself through experience. You are creating the truth about yourself through the thoughts you repeat. And most people spend their entire lives repeating thoughts they never consciously chose, thoughts that were handed to them by parents, by teachers, by society, by moments of pain and failure that got burned into their memory. You're walking around with a subconscious mind programmed by everyone except you. And that subconscious mind is running the show. It controls your habits, your emotions, your instincts, your reflexes. It's operating 24 hours a day, even when you sleep, especially when you sleep, processing, reinforcing, deepening the patterns that have been set. Napoleon Hill understood this in a way that was revolutionary for his time and is still revolutionary now, because most people still don't get it. He understood that the subconscious mind is not some abstract concept. It's a real, physical, tangible system in your brain, a network of neurons that fire together based on repetition, based on emotion, based on belief. And whatever you feed that system becomes your reality, not your potential reality, not your possible reality, your actual, lived, experienced reality. This is why two people can be born into the same circumstances, face the same challenges, have the same opportunities, and one will rise to extraordinary heights while the other will remain stuck, struggling, wondering why life is so hard. The difference is not talent. It's not luck. It's not even effort. It's the programming. It's the thoughts that have been allowed to take root in the subconscious mind and grow into the framework of a life. But here's where it gets even darker, even more unsettling. Your brain doesn't just accept programming from your own thoughts. It absorbs programming from everything around you, from the news you consume, which trains your brain to see danger and disaster everywhere, from the people you spend time with, whose attitudes and beliefs seep into your subconscious through a process called mirror neurons, where your brain literally starts to mimic the patterns it observes in others, from the environment you live in, which sends constant signals about what's possible, what's normal, what's acceptable. You think you're an individual, making your own choices, but you're actually a receiver, picking up signals from every direction, and your brain is integrating all of it, sorting it, filing it, using it to construct the model of reality that you then live inside. And the most terrifying part, most of this happens below the level of conscious awareness. Most of this happens in the dark. You don't see it happening. You don't feel it happening. You just wake up one day and realize that you're stuck, that you're not where you want to be, that you're not who you thought you would become. And you don't know why. You look around for something to blame. The economy, your circumstances, other people, bad luck. But the real culprit is sitting right between your ears, operating in the shadows, running programs you never authorized, making decisions based on data you never questioned. Napoleon Hill spent years trying to understand why this happens, why the human mind, which is capable of such extraordinary things, so often works against its own best interests. And what he realized is that the mind is not designed for greatness. It's designed for survival. And in the calculus of survival, staying the same is always safer than changing. Risking nothing is always safer than risking something. Being average is always safer than standing out. Your brain is wired to avoid pain more than it seeks pleasure, to fear loss more than it desires gain. This is called negativity bias, and it's one of the most powerful forces in your psychology. Your brain gives more weight, more attention, more memory space to negative experiences than positive ones. One criticism can erase 10 compliments. One failure can overshadow a dozen successes. One rejection can make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. And this is why most people never break through. This is why most dreams die quietly, without fanfare, without drama, just a slow fade into resignation. Because the brain, left to its own devices, will always choose the familiar over the unknown, the comfortable over the challenging, the safe over the significant. It will rationalize. It will justify. It will construct elaborate stories about why now is not the right time, why this is not the right opportunity, why you're not the right person. And it will do this so convincingly that you'll believe it. You'll think you're being realistic. You'll think you're being smart. You'll think you're protecting yourself. But what you're really doing is obeying an ancient program that no longer serves you. So what do? How do you fight against a force that operates in the darkness, that moves faster than conscious thought, that has been shaping you since before you could even speak? Napoleon Hill's answer is both simple and profound. You don't fight it. You reprogram it. You take control of the input. You become fiercely, obsessively intentional about what you allow into your mind. Because your subconscious cannot tell the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. This is not philosophy. This is neuroscience. When you visualize something with emotion, with detail, with repetition, your brain creates neural pathways as if that thing actually happened. Athletes have known this for decades. They visualize perfect performances, and their bodies respond as if they've already executed those performances. Surgeons visualize complex procedures before they step into the operating room. Musicians visualize flawless recitals before they step onto the stage. But most people never apply this principle to their lives. They let their minds wander, replaying past failures, rehearsing future disasters, imagining all the ways things could go wrong. And their subconscious mind, faithful servant that it is, takes those instructions and starts building a reality to match. This is the dark secret your brain has been keeping from you. You're not a victim of your thoughts. You are the creator of them. And if you're the creator, then you can also be the editor, the curator, the architect. You can decide what thoughts get repeated, what images get visualized, what beliefs get reinforced. This requires discipline. It requires vigilance. It requires a level of self-awareness that most people never develop because they've been taught to focus outward, on circumstances, on other people, on things they cannot control. But the only place real power exists is inward, in the space between stimulus and response, in the moment when a thought arises and you get to choose whether to believe it or dismiss it. Napoleon Hill called this principle applied faith. Not religious faith, though it can include that, but a deeper kind of faith, a faith in the process of transformation, a faith that if you control your thoughts with enough consistency, your reality will eventually conform. This sounds abstract, but it's actually mechanical. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. It looks for evidence to support whatever belief is dominant. If you believe you're unlucky, your brain will highlight every moment that confirms it and ignore everything that contradicts it. If you believe you're capable, your brain will find opportunities, solutions, pathways forward that were invisible before. Same circumstances, same world, different filter, different reality. And this is where the real work begins. This is where the comfortable illusions fall away, and you're faced with a choice that most people avoid their entire lives. Are you willing to take full responsibility for your mind? Not just for your actions, not just for your words, but for your thoughts, for your attention, for the internal narrative that runs on a loop every waking hour? Because once you accept that responsibility, once you stop blaming your past, your genetics, your environment, you also claim a power that is almost unfathomable. You claim the power to redesign yourself from the inside out. You claim the power to become someone new, someone stronger, someone who doesn't flinch when fear arises, who doesn't retreat when obstacles appear, who doesn't accept limitation as a permanent condition. Your brain has dark secrets, yes, but the darkest secret of all is this. It will gladly keep you trapped if you let it. It will run the same loops, reinforce the same patterns, create the same outcomes year after year after year, until one day you wake up and realize that you never really lived. You survived. You existed. You went through the motions. But you never broke through. You never became who you were capable of becoming. And that is the tragedy that Napoleon Hill witnessed in his research, the quiet desperation of people who had everything they needed to succeed, but never unlocked it because they never understood the machine they were operating. They never looked beneath the surface. They never expose the dark secrets. But you're different. You're here. You're listening. You're willing to see what most people refuse to see. And that willingness, that openness, that courage to confront the uncomfortable truth about how your mind works, that is the first step toward real transformation. That is the moment when everything begins to change. Because awareness is power. Understanding is control. And once you see the mechanisms, once you understand the patterns, you can never unsee them. You can never go back to being unconscious. You can never pretend that your thoughts don't matter, that your beliefs don't shape your reality, that the invisible architecture of your mind isn't the most important thing you could ever pay attention to. If this resonates with you, if something inside you recognizes the truth of what we're uncovering here, then do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. Let me know that you're ready to go deeper, that you're ready to see the rest of what your brain has been hiding from you. And if you want to continue this journey, if you want to be part of a community of people who are committed to mastering their minds and unlocking their potential, then subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Because what we're about to explore in part 2 will challenge everything you think you know about willpower, about motivation, about why you do what you do even when you know you should do something different. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's been struggling, someone who's been stuck, someone who's ready for a breakthrough. Because the truth is, most people will never see this message. Most people will never understand how their brain really works. But you're not most people. You're here. And that means something. So like, share, subscribe, and let's continue this journey together.